Hey, Will McGuire here. I'm super excited to be here in Boone, North Carolina, perhaps one of my favorite breweries and restaurants, Booneshine. And I'm here to meet with not only the co-founder of Booneshine, but also the co-founders at a group called HiveTracks, which has a software app that is tracking 200,000 plus beehives across the entire globe and helping those beekeepers take care of their hives and make them more healthy. So Booneshine and HiveTracks have this awesome collab where part of the hives that are tracked and the honey that's coming from those hives is actually used in their beer here. So I'm really excited to hear more about what they've had going on. So come join me in this and let's listen in.
We were like, okay, we need to find a location to expand. We need to move the brewery while we're in full production. Wow. We need to add, like we were to open a restaurant. We had like all these things kind of lined up, and we like blew through it. Like by the end of by mid 19, we'd done the whole thing. And Carson and I are looking at each other like, well, now what are we gonna do? Trying to figure it out. And we're still, we're growing and stuff.
Are you doing a lot of distribution, or is it mostly?
About 30% of our beer sales are on location here.
Okay.
Another 30% or so in the high country. Okay. And then the rest of it is kind of what we call off the mountain. So we go as far as Raleigh right now. We go to Raleigh once a month.
Great.
That is fantastic.
Winston-Salem.
So who does the distribution?
We do our own distribution.
Okay. Well, now I know where to pick it up since I'm out of Holly Springs. So.
Yeah, we have some beer in Holly Springs. Yeah.
I always come to Booneshine when I'm in Boone. I really do. It's my stopping point before I go home. When I was here with this team last time, they showed me this beer, which I found really cool because one, it's brewed with honey, but they showed me that it actually is brewed with honey from bees that they track. How did that all come together?
Yeah, James and I had met in the scale-up program, and then we knew about the honey. And then when we opened the restaurant in 2019, one of our most popular items on the menu is a hot honey chicken sandwich.
Yep, I've had it.
And it uses Faith Mountain Farm honey.
Yeah.
And so we were very familiar with the honey and had a relationship there. And so when we started brewing this beer, we wanted to use local honey in it. And so we did that. We knew where to go to get the honey. And it's a delicious beer, by the way. It's a really nice amber. It's got a little sweetness in it, and then we wanted to partner in some way with HiveTracks specifically, and so we did that. We've got the story on the can, and we also we make a donation for every case we sell that goes back to HiveTracks.
Wow, that's awesome.
One of the things that kind of drives us here is we're kind of wired to give back here at Booneshine, and so working with local farmers, local providers is kind of just part of our DNA, and so we do that with a number of different farms in the area, and so it just fits well with that.
So is the grain in here local too then?
The grain's not local in this one. We do use some. We have some beers that have some local barley in it. Some North Carolina grown. There's a couple. There's actually a couple malt houses in North Carolina that we work with fairly extensively.
That's cool. Yeah, I knew there weren't a ton of malt growers here, but that's kind of cool that you use it when you can.
It's a winter crop in this area, so we can grow a little bit of winter barley, but it's not ideal in the summer. So a lot of the malt comes further north in North America.
So you mentioned a specific farm here too. Like, how's that play into like the tracking aspect of what HiveTracks does?
When the Honeybeer idea came along, it was kind of a natural extension, and in particular sourwood, because it's a unique honey. It's only made in this region of the world. Nowhere else in the world is it made. Just like from southern Virginia through northern Georgia, right along the Blue Ridge, is where sourwood honey comes from. For HiveTracks, that's one of the kind of things that we're after with honey in particular. Every honey has an identity based on where it was produced, when it was produced, and kind of conditions under which it was produced.
Was your original intent with HiveTracks to be able to track all those different pieces and create like almost a marketplace on the back end for Source of Truth, or was it just to
no?
Help
that was a natural outcome of beekeepers' data. You know, when I go to a farmer's market and talk to somebody about honey, or they talk to me, there's certain questions that they're asking to help verify, you know, the authenticity of that honey. So we want to capture that information in a digital form that can then travel through the supply chain. So I've been focused on that for the last dozen years, trying to figure that, or almost 15 years now.
That's great.
Trying to figure that out as well.
And this is where the stars kind of align, coming together on this beer and working with Tim and Booneshine, because it's like you have all the pieces are right here.
Yeah.
It's more than a cool concept and a cool idea. It generates value, which I think is the important thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, cool gets you so far. But there's a return to doing this.
Is that what attracted you to the team, Laura?
Oh
Was-
gosh, a lot of things that attract me.
I mean, how did you get connected?
So my background is in analytics, and I, got involved in the university in their analytics department, and I actually am James's neighbor, and so it started way back then.
Yeah, actually, it started with,
I stalked him. So
it's a good story.
So you guys like office space is either you just come down here or you literally walk to each other's house.
Yeah.
And just,
There you go. It's funny when at the UN we talk about agri-food systems, right? Which is just an abstract thing to mean this one, right? So just how do local producers work with each other? How do you ensure that you can consume food that is being produced locally, regionally, seasonally? And that is with a strong culture here, which is one of the things that drew me to it. So
he was excited, I was excited, and we literally had a conversation almost 3 years ago. Yeah.
around Christmas.
And he called me and he said, "I'll do it if you do it." And I said, "I'll do it if you do it."
Yeah.
So we did it.
wow. That's amazing. I mean, what's it like too? Because I mean, think about like you're building an IoT company, but you don't have hardware. Your hardware is actually like a bee, like something in nature. Is there anybody else in the world doing anything like that with nature? Because that to me is so cool that you're taking what nature's already given us, the source data that we actually need, not only for supply chain and like brewing beer, that's amazing because I've had it, I know it's good, but also for like, I can see the downstream impact on the environmental data we get out of that, protecting the hives and all the other good stuff it does. Like, is anybody else in the world doing anything like that you know of, using nature as hardware?
Because there's 100 million hives in the world, and there's 1 trillion bees roughly in the world. And what we're trying to figure out is a way to connect them, right? And that's also where our uniqueness kind of comes in. So there's, depending on what segment of beekeeping you look into, there's many companies that try to do similar things, but they're focused on solving one particular problem, be it efficiency in beekeeping or be it productivity in beekeeping. And none of them kind of takes this step back, so to say, and looks at the data as a whole, looking at what are the derived products we can take from the data, right? So be it the proof of authenticity here. But our unique aspect to it is really to try to connect the dots and making sense of it and looking in, we call it the silent pollination, right? So it is the pollination that happens outside of agriculture. It's the beekeepers that live in rural areas that do something for biodiversity, for the health of our planet every day, but go unnoticed. There's no accounting for the good they do, and that's what we want to change.
That's really cool.
But then what value does that data have?
Yeah.
That's a barrier, right? And that's the one we're solving. We're bringing value back to the beekeeper from that data.
Right now, there's the story of HiveTracks in the back of the tin can, but we're working on something else, working on a little QR code that will be added, so you can see the origin. So as James was saying, it's like, how do we in the end of the day deliver the value? It's like, data is fine, but if you can't act upon it or interpret it in a human way, what does it serve you?
Yeah, when I say for us, it's perfect because beer sells itself based upon stories.
Yeah.
Whether it's the story of the brewery or the story of the beer maker or wherever that might be. But in this case, having the story that's tied to a local ingredient that's in here, but it goes deeper than that. It's not just that that's cool, but it's like being able to take it and validate that it's actually local and it comes from actually this hive in this neighborhood near these trees. Takes the story to a much deeper level, and then for us, if it's a deeper story, it's going to connect with our customers in a stronger way. So it fits perfectly into kind of what we're trying to do as well.
And that's part of your DNA as Booneshine, right? I mean, that's part of your ethos.
Yeah.
It lines up with that, and it just amplifies it. So it's a great,
Our story, you see it if you leave, you'll see a sign as you're leaving out that says, "Make Boone Shine." And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make Boone, the high country, a better place. And it's things like this and people like this and local businesses and local ventures that make that possible. And so that is what we're trying to do.
That's really great. Very cool. Well, I can't wait to try some of this again. As well as the food again. I'm not sure if I'm doing the hot honey sandwich today. I might do the regular honey sandwich though. It's always good. Well, guys, y'all, thank you.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
You, Will.
I mean, we've met so many times. I mean, this is the first time you and I have met, but I've been here a lot. But I mean, we've talked about this story so many times, and there were new elements of the story that I'd never heard before. Absolutely.
Cool.
All right, it's a wrap.
Sweet.
Sweet, guys. So this is sourwood tree, right?
Yes.
So
there's
the bees eat off of this, like the flowers and stuff?
So in general, when a beehive makes honey, the bees are going out and collecting nectar from whatever's blooming within a 2 to 3 mile radius of the hive. Okay, so in a particular time and place, there's going to be a certain amount of flora and a certain amount of nectar that they can collect. So to make sourwood honey, you have to be in a place where there's enough sourwood trees that are going to translate into honey.
Makes sense. So how'd you know you wanted to become a beekeeper? Plus
I
software engineer, plus.
How does anybody know what they want to be, right? Kind of circumstances guide a lot of that.
I guess a better question is, what made you fall in love with becoming a beekeeper? That triggered it?
Yeah, well, I kind of grew up in it. My dad was he was kind of one of the original, I would say, urban beekeepers, which is a very trendy thing now. But he had a couple of hives in our yard when I was growing up in the 1960s. Got his first bees from Sears and Roebuck through mail order.
Wow, they sold bees?
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Yep. So I kind of grew up with them.
Wow.
They're just kind of part of
Cool.
the yard.
So working at HiveTracks, are you guys required to also have your own beehives too?
We just this is funny. 4 weeks ago when we shot our video, and we had a photographer here, and we did nice drone footage during peak week and fall. It was like almost everybody went through one like hive inspection. So we always call them bee classes. So it's like getting James there and then helping us out.
I would like to come to that.
As a beekeeper, your question all the time is, what do I need to do next, if anything? So you're monitoring your bees' health. If all that's good, HiveTracks says good. If not, then we say, hey, here's something that and point you to resources, things like that.
Yep. You know, when we coined the term for the new app that we're currently building, we chose the Beekeeper's Companion because it was the start of like companionship. And in beekeeping, there's 2 very interesting relationships that happen. One is kind of the beekeeping club, that is something that always existed. This like talking about, exchanging ideas, and the second one is a mentor relationship, which is a very common one.
So now you can help them connect across global lines.
We want to have the community piece in the app, and we want to have the mentorship piece in the app. It is augmenting what is there. It will never, we don't aim to replace the human connection to that degree, but it's to be able to rely on something when you can't be in that meeting, or when you know something in between the mentorship conversation.
That's really cool. Well, thanks for showing me all this. I know you gotta go teach some
youth. You're
gonna go do some of that computer science side.
And we gotta eat. So.
And we gotta eat, yes, all good.
Wow. How cool is that, talking with James and Max and Laura and Tim about how a simple app that HiveTracks has developed that helps beekeepers track their hives and their health can completely transform our supply chain, from doing a collab around beer to find out where that honey's coming from to a vast number of other applications that haven't even been developed. I am so excited to see where they head, not only as Booneshine and HiveTracks together, but also all the other customers they serve. So this is all from Booneshine and HiveTracks today. Looking forward to showing you the next founders that we go meet with.